What's more difficult, building the YouTube channel or doing the ultra marathon?
That cost me money, cost me huge amounts of money.
How far were you in when you thought this could be a thing? Like this could be what I do? Welcome to Creator Calls. My name's Ross, and this is where I chat to some of my favourite creators about how they got started on YouTube. With over 300,000 subscribers and over 5 years in the game, we have Mark Lewis from the Mark Lewis channel. Mark, thanks for coming on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
For anyone that hasn't seen your channel then, how would you describe it to someone that's never seen it before?
Crikey, I probably wouldn't bother. I'd say go watch it. I mean, it started off only because, not because I'm grumpy, just because it's almost complicated. It started off as me messing about doing some motorcycling, and then it became fitness in the kind of traditional fitness YouTuber sense. And then I realized that was nonsense, that whole genre. So I sort of moved away from that a little bit into kind of lifestyle-y sort of stuff. So yeah, if you're thinking that sounds incoherent gibberish, that's why I would say just go and watch it. My last video was about moving house and stuff. It's become quite lifestyle-y, with a hint of health and fitness.
So if we take
and
it back
some motorbikes.
Yeah. So if we take it back to the very beginning then, like why did you choose YouTube? What prompted you just to get started in the first place?
I mean, the literal answer to that is that I had gone on holiday to Africa and done some motorcycling solo around Africa and Namibia, and have filmed it on a GoPro, little kind of GoPro hero session things. And I'd come back from that and thought I'm going to have all this amazing footage to just watch for myself. And I wasn't using YouTube at all at that point, other than, if my dishwasher broke or something. So I looked at this footage and it was rubbish. And I thought, that sucks. How can I make it more entertaining? So I started watching YouTube and watching what YouTubers were doing. And I realized that most people doing kind of motorcycle or any sort of traveling type vlog, most of it was rubbish. It was people sticking a camera, as I'd done, stick a camera on their head, and it's quite exciting in the moment, but you look back in retrospect, it's all quite tedious. And then I started looking at YouTubers like Casey Neistat and stuff, who at the time was obviously probably huge, and it was very much storytelling. And I thought that's quite interesting that you can actually you tell a story. And I'd done a little bit of stand-up comedy in my past, and I'd done a little bit of kind of TV script writing and stuff, and wanted it, and it had never gone anywhere. So I wanted a kind of creative outlet for that as well. So I thought, I wonder if I can go back to Africa and actually try and tell a story. What would Casey Neistat do if you made him ride a motorbike around Africa? So I went and did that, and I made this story. And my youngest kid basically said, you should stick it on YouTube. I said, isn't that just for washing machine repairs? And did, and that was it. He set up an account for me in 2018, end of 2018, and I put this motorcycling video up, and it was watched by about 15 people, which was incredible because I don't know 15 people. So that was just remarkable. And I thought, well, what else can I film? And so that it just kind of grew from there. It was basically that. It was, what am I doing? And is it something I can make a little story about? And because a lot of my life in the last few years has been fitness, it's kind of felt to people like I'm a fitness YouTuber. That's not the case. That's like calling Casey Neistat a New York YouTuber. It just happens to be where he is. Fitness just happened to be where I was. It's more of a lifestyle kind of channel, to me anyway.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that now because you've done some of the fitness challenges, but like more recently, it definitely covers that like lifestyle element of it all.
Yeah, and there was a time when that wasn't working. I mean, it was almost annoying that I would make a fitness challenge video and it would do very well. And it was when I knew it would do well. It was fun to do, but I was kind of ticking all the kind of YouTuber fitness cliche boxes with that, and just doing it to basically pay some bills. And whenever I did something that was a bit more personal, or even just a bit more interesting to me, it would fall flat relative to how those other videos did. But of late, those more personal videos have done okay. I still have to tick some kind of cliched clickbaity boxes to make them work. But having done that, they then do all right. I mean, my last video is currently my best performing video ever. and it's kind of nothing to do with fitness really. It's just it's actually about meeting my wife and stuff, and I feel like I finally got to a point where I have enough understanding of the algorithm to an extent, and enough of an audience that I can put something out that is a bit more of me, and it has a shot at doing okay, finally.
Yeah, it sounds like you do a lot of research then. Does it? So when you did your first video, after that you sort of dived into the YouTube aspect of things. How did it compare, the second video? Did you find that video much better, or did YouTube disagree, or?
No, I mean, the trouble is early on, better and worse was 15 views or 16 views. And if something got 50 views, that to me was gone viral. So it's with hindsight, it's quite hard to think what actually did do well and what didn't. All I focused on really was, for the first good couple of years, was literally just make it as good as I can. A lot of people say about YouTubers, they say, well, it's they say, oh, you shouldn't. If you go back and watch old stuff, it will be rubbish, and everyone starts when I think it's even Mr. Beast says, make 100 videos because the first 100 will be rubbish. And that advice might work to many YouTubers, because many of them are like 14-year-old kids, and they're in their bedroom with an iPhone 11 or something, and also they're kids. So yeah, it's going to be rubbish because they're kids. And I kind of went into it thinking, I'm a 45-year-old grown man. I've done stand-up comedy on stage. I've been on TV doing that. I understand how to tell a story. I've done script writing, and there's no reason for it to be rubbish. I mean, that just doesn't apply to me, I believe. So I thought, no, I'm going to buy the latest gear. I'm going to get a 4K camera. I'm going to get proper lighting. I'm going to invest in this, and I'm going to try and do it as well as I can from the start. So actually, when I go back and watch my old videos, they're not as good as they are today, but they're not bad. And I actually went back and watched a couple of old videos recently because I thought I'll redo them and I'll re-release them like a director's cut, and I'll try and get some traction on these videos that didn't do very well in the past. And I went back and watched them and thought, do you know what? I'd make that the same today, literally the same. I'm not going to touch it. If only 10,000 people have watched it, so be it. I'm not going to fiddle with it. It was fine as it was. So to me, I made them as good as I could, and then just let the kind of dice fall where they may in terms of who watched them.
Yeah, it's good that people can watch it now and get a similar quality when they look back in. Like, they can go and watch the whole journey of the channel and get the same level of enjoyment.
Yeah, and actually that's helped in the sense, because what tends to happen now is that people find the channel when they go back and watch stuff, and when they go back and watch my old stuff, unlike some other very successful YouTubers, with me, they're not going back and watching some teenage idiot just kind of bumbling his way through just nonsense, filming his neighbour's cat attacking a mole or something. My stuff is not as good, but it's certainly watchable. And so what's happened is that some old videos that I just thought would just eventually kind of fall off and die, I'll spot that they've suddenly gone off and done 100, 200,000 views, having only got maybe 4,000 or 5,000 views at the outset. So new people do find that old stuff, and they're surprised that it's okay, and then do tend to plug their way through the whole channel. And I have people contact me and say, I found your stuff, I loved it, went back and I've now watched everything. I mean, that person's nuts, but people do that. They go back and they just watch it all because they're thinking, hopefully, if they like it on day one, they'll like it on day one at the start, and they can watch, if they want, a few hundred videos.
So you mentioned you were 45 when you got started then. Like, a lot of people getting started worry about their friends finding out at school that they've got a channel. Do you remember how many subscribers you had when other people started to find your channel? I'm talking like your colleagues or your friends.
Well, not really. I'm slightly, I kind of benefit from the fact that I couldn't care less anyway. So that wasn't too much of an issue. I mean, I don't think I ever told anybody, really. It was just my hobby. I wouldn't tell someone if I took up badminton. I just kind of got on with it and did it. And there was probably a point where people did find it. But to be honest, people didn't really find it until I probably had 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers, which now doesn't sound very many. That's a couple of weeks worth of subscribers. But at the outset, 4 or 5,000 people watching me was an insane number of, from someone that had done stand up to, rooms with 5 people in it. 5,000 was crazy. So I felt no sort of embarrassment or shame. And also I'd done stand up. So, I'm used to just sort of standing on a stage and talking to an embarrassingly small number of people sometimes and just not caring. I don't care. People worry too much about that, I think. At 45, many people at 45 are dead. So the biggest worry I've got is that a neighbour sees me on YouTube. I'll cope with that.
Yeah, I'm in my 30s and I remember going into work and thinking, I hope no one sees the videos. And I think 2 people have come up to me ever at work and gone, I saw one of your videos. I was just clicking around YouTube and your face showed up. And that's it. Like, it ends there. It's like there's no reason to be nervous, really.
No, not really. I mean, to be honest, some friends of mine didn't even find out until I'd be in the pub, and by then I can remember having a couple of 100,000 subs. And once you're at a couple of 100,000, you tend to get noticed occasionally when you're out and about. I mean, it's a weird sort of fame, YouTube, because if you have 200,000 or 300,000 people watching you and a couple of million views a month, what will happen is that wherever you are, somebody will have seen your stuff. I mean, that would just be the case. Somebody will have seen your stuff, but you're not famous. If you walk down the street. So what happens is, if you're Tom Cruise and you walk down the street and you go past 100 people, 99 people know that you're Tom Cruise. And what happens when you're a YouTuber is you walk down the street and one person out of maybe 1,000 does. But on a day out, you'll see 1,000 people. So every day you will have someone say, hey, you're that guy. But 999 people wouldn't have a clue who you are. So what I tended to find was I'd go to a pub with friends and stuff, and it would just be a routine pub evening. But then at some point, somebody would come across and go, hey, love your stuff. And that, to me, was just what I'd got used to. To my friends, that was a bit kind of like, oh, right, that's happening now. That's a thing now. But again, somebody coming up to you and going, I love what you do. There's no kind of cringe factor to that. That's I'm sitting across guys that are killing themselves working 9 till 5 in a job they hate. And I got people coming up to me in the pub and saying, I love what you do. So if any one of us is going to feel a bit uncomfortable, it's the donut that's been doing the same job for 30 years that he hates. Yeah, it's not the 45-year-old YouTuber.
Yeah. A lot of your content then is like sitting in front of camera, speaking directly to camera in your office or your gym space. And then the other half of it is like out and about at events or in the public. What's it like filming at an event? Like, it's because I imagine it's quite loud, quite busy.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't like it. I prefer sitting talking to camera because I can script that. I script everything that I do. Everything I do talking to camera is scripted. And when I say scripted, I don't mean and again, there'll be YouTubers that are staggeringly more successful than me that don't do this and will wonder why I bother. But I script everything, every single word, every pause, everything. It's scripted. The way it was when I did stand-up, I script a lot. So when I'm out and about, I can't do that. I can have some idea of sort of things I'm going to talk about, but I can't script it. So what I tend to do when I'm out and about, I got in the habit, if I'm at a race or so, I'm filming me doing an event, I'll just film it. And mainly because I hated that kind of YouTuber fitness kind of thing where you're kind of shouting into a GoPro going, hey, everyone, here I am. And I'll just, just get to the point. So, and I learned from people like Mr. Beast. I would watch Mr. Beast and the guy's into his story within 5 seconds of the video starting. It would just be, here I am on the desert island already. No one cares how you bought it or what the implications of getting there were. It's just, I'm on the island, let's rock and roll. And so what I didn't like was people sort of saying, hey, I'm in the car driving to the event, and you join me as I've had breakfast. And what? Shut up, just get on with the event. That's what I'm, if I've clicked on the thing that says, how I ran a crazy fast half marathon, I want that video to start on the start line of the marathon. And I want the gun going off within the first 10 seconds. I don't want to see the guy having a piece of toast for breakfast with a slow motion coffee. So what I did was I would just film my content and then I would just do voiceover, which allowed me back in the office. So it allowed me to sit at my desk and think, okay, where does this story start? And sometimes it starts a bit before the event, but often it will just start at the start line. and I can give all the nonsense about what I had for breakfast over the top of that happening, and people can then be seeing that going on. So I don't mind filming out and about, but what I tend to do is film it and then come back and then find the story afterwards. Actually, if you watch any sort of documentary, you watch, I don't know, whatever, Top Gear, that kind of thing, or whatever it's called now, or was called, Grand Tour. There's not a huge amount of stuff going on that they're talking to camera live on, or as it's being filmed. There's a huge amount that's done in voiceover afterwards, where they kind of work out where's the story here. So I just thought, hang on a minute, that's what multi-million-pound kind of TV shows are doing. I'll do that. I don't need to be the bloke shouting into his GoPro, getting appalling audio quality, making up stuff on the fly that you're giving no thought to. No one else does that. I'll do it this way, and it seems to work.
So I always like to ask people like what their favorite video is, but I always really want to know, like, is there a video that you absolutely wouldn't do again?
I did a couple of videos. I did a couple of videos on a product that I got for free, and with hindsight, the video came off as being not an advert for the product, but basically, that I did a video for a standing desk, and it's a pity because it's a great item and it transformed how I worked, and I wanted to talk about it. But in return for getting the standing desk, the guy said do a video about it, and I kind of made the video a little bit for my audience. I made it a little bit for me, and I made it a little bit for the guy that gave me the desk, and it just ended up as being a kind of a nothing. It didn't work. I would do it differently this time. I would say to the guy that gave me the desk, dude, just relax. Don't tell me what to do. And I've done this since. I say to people, look, you give me something for free. Just don't be telling me how to talk about it. I know what I'm doing. It will be in the video. I'll be complimentary about it, but let me do it my way. And that works better. So that's probably the only one. There's no video I've made that I think that's just a bad video. There were just some where I was a bit compromised with what my motives were. What my motives are now is basically just make the video I want to make. And then the thumbnail, the title, that does need to be ticking the boxes to make it fly when it gets uploaded. But the actual core video, if I don't want to make it, I don't make it. And that costs me money, costs me huge amounts of money. I mean, just insane amounts to do it that way. But I'd rather do what I want to do than do what just makes money.
Yeah, what I thought you were going to say was I watched the 10,000 calorie video the other day. That looked horrendous.
Yeah, well, you see that one. Yeah, see, I'd make that one again. I mean, it's a bit kind of. Well, actually, what I like about that video is it's stupid clickbaity nonsense. I mean, it's cliched fitness YouTuber rubbish. I stuffed myself, and here's what happened. But I think I made it in a way that was a little bit more interesting, maybe. I mean, for a start, I didn't achieve the result, and I didn't achieve it because of reasons that other YouTubers wouldn't, encounter the same problems. I think I told a story on it. So although that was cliched rubbish, it's like having a burger. It's like having a McDonald's. That's not great food, but sometimes it's nice just to have that. So I was quite happy with that video. I'd make that again, and I'd probably make it the same way again. And it did great. So to a certain extent, if something goes off and does 1 million views or something, cool. There has to be a commercial part to it that says that doesn't matter what I think about it.
Yeah, it was a great video, but it looked like hard work. Rather you than me.
Yeah, I mean, hard work. I mean, it's hard work, but it's not even really work, is it? I mean, relatively speaking, I mean, hard work would be, cleaning the streets, or my mates that are working 9 to 5 and killing themselves in jobs they hate. That's hard work. Eating a lot of Easter eggs. I mean, it's
tough day at the office.
Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's like if that's your, that's just not. It's just not hard work to do that.
Yeah, you've mentioned like your friends and stuff a lot. Then, so have you managed to convince any of them to start a channel, or have any of them asked you about advice for it?
No, not at all. No. I mean, and they wouldn't. I mean, because they're now like me. They're all 50-year-old men. and so the number of 50-year-old men that think I'll go and do a YouTube channel is staggeringly small. And in a group of 4 or 5 friends, if you've got one, you're not going to have 2. So no, they couldn't care less. Interestingly, nor do my children. I mean, that's probably the one thing that is a bit more interesting, that I would have thought that youngsters nowadays would have been more interested, that they're not, which is absolutely fine, of course. But if anybody was going to ask me, I would have thought it would have been them. One of them did at one point. One thought that he could be a fitness YouTuber because he saw fitness YouTube as being a thing, and then he realised that actually it was hard work. I mean, it's not easy to get off the ground. There's no immediate reward, and so he basically just said, I can't be bothered, and didn't bother doing it.
I just want to touch on a few technical things then. So what camera did you start with, and what camera do you have now for filming?
What did I start with? I started with what did I start? I started with a Sony something. A Sony. No, it wasn't. It was a Canon. It was a Canon 80D or something. I can't remember, to be honest. I mean, it was basically something that Casey Neistat had used at some point. And it wasn't cheap. I spent probably a good couple of £1,000 plus lens and stuff on the camera. So I bought that camera. I bought a couple of LED light boxes. I went and bought an iMac. I'd never used an iMac in my life, but everyone said, well, again, Casey Neistat was using Final Cut Pro on an iMac. So I went and bought an iMac. Learned how to use that by watching YouTube videos on how to use an iMac. Learned how to edit, because I didn't know how to edit. I mean, Final Cut Pro was alien to me. I didn't know what cut meant, literally. I knew, so my level of understanding of editing was zero. So I spent a good few £1,000. And again, people say, that's a lot of money to spend. But actually, I viewed it as starting a business. If you start a business, if I told you I started a cafe, and my investment into that cafe was £5,000 to get off the ground, you'd think, crikey, if that's all you spent, that's not going to buy you a coffee machine. So actually, to start a business that's now making a reasonable amount of money, as a day one investment, £5,000 was very, very small. Had it failed, it would have been annoying, but that's a business. So I started off there, and then I upgraded as I went. I mean, I now use Sony. I've got a couple of Sony A7s. I still use Final Cut, but I've now got about 4 iMacs. I've got bigger screens. I mean, just literally just the other day, actually, it's behind me. I bought, I don't know what it's called. It's one of these 2 meter long tracks that you plonk your camera on, and you kind of say start filming there, and over 30 seconds move to there and film there. And so for things like B-roll and stuff, or if I'm doing some time lapse of something, I can have it film me, but while it's filming me, it's kind of panning around me and stuff. That's £1,000 bit of kit that on day one would have been insane. But I've had a few instances now where I think, it would have been a bit more dynamic if I could have filmed that, in that way. How did that person do it? And I then Google that, and so I've added to my kit in that way over time. And it's been a very expensive way of doing it. I mean, I've reinvested an awful lot of money that I've made, not that I've made an awful lot anyway, into just making sure that I've always had, I've never wanted kit to be the problem. I never want someone to go, your audio, it's great video, but your audio wasn't very good, or your video quality wasn't. I've never wanted that to be an issue. So whenever someone has said that to me, for example, I did a podcast for a while that didn't really kind of go anywhere, but I, the first thing I did was I went and bought a Rode Podcaster 2, and I went and got all the kit and the mics, and people would say, "Hey, it's good audio quality." I think, cool, that's what I want to hear. So it started off with good kit. Some people say kind of all the gear, no idea, when they see people diving into the deep end with fancy stuff on day one. And I've always said, no, just start as you mean to go on. Did you want this channel that you're trying to start to be rubbish? Well, no. Then why would you not, within reason, within your budget, why would you not get as good a kit as you can? And if you're lucky enough to make £100, spend that £100 on something that will make it better next time. And if you make 1,000, do the same. And I just did that. I just kept adding to my kit list, drones and that kind of nonsense, and also at the same time being mindful of, do I really need it? I've now got 3 drones. There comes a point where, and I hardly ever use a drone in my content. But that was my philosophy. Start as you mean to go on. If that means spending a bit, then c'est la vie.
Yeah, you've talked about thinking of it as a business from the start. How far were you in when you thought this could be a thing? Like this could be what I do?
Well, day one, I thought this would be nice to do as a business, day one, because otherwise, why, to a certain extent, why start a YouTube channel? I mean, I kind of think that if you're, or why do anything? I always want there to be a point to what I'm doing. So when I started a YouTube channel, I didn't just, why am I doing this? It's not for me to watch the videos, so that I can just watch them myself. It's not really for friends and family because I can just send them a video link. I don't need to do that. So it's for other people to watch. I don't need people to watch just to kind of feel validated because I'm a grown man. I can work that one out on my own. So it's a business. It's you can get paid doing this. So how do I get there? So from day one, my objective was head in the direction of this is a viable business. But that doesn't mean it will end up being one. I mean, I've done all sorts of things over the years as side hustles that I thought this will be a viable business, and it just doesn't become one. I mean, I thought stand-up comedy would be a business. I thought I could quit my job and do stand-up comedy. And I thought that from day one of trying. And until I quit and thought, it didn't work. But it was never my plan was never anything other than make this a business. So that was always the plan. It was probably I'm trying to think of the dates. I mean, although the channel started at the end of 2018, it wasn't really until the middle of 2020 where numbers started to pick up. I had a few thousand subscribers, and a few videos did quite well, relatively speaking, at the time. They did hundreds of views in a day, which at the time was mind-boggling. And so as I left 2020 and went to 21, the channel was making a few £100 a month. And obviously, a few £100 a month doesn't really do an awful lot when I'm spending thousands sometimes a month on gear. And also, I was working at the same time. I was working in financial services, which was a job that paid a large amount of money. I mean, I was basically earning a lot of money. So it wasn't as though, it wasn't like I could think, oh, well, YouTube's making £2,000 a month now. I can quit my job. That wouldn't have been a sensible thing to do. So I suppose around end of 21, beginning of 22, it got to a point where I thought it's not yet making enough money to pay to basically compensate for losing my job, but it's making enough money and appears to be on a projected path that it will do one day. I've now got a good couple of years from 2020 to 22 where it's done nothing but grow steadily. So why would it stop? That was my rather naive thinking. And if I'm making this much now, I'll make that much then. It was all quite kind of, I thought, well, this would just progress. And also it coincided with COVID finishing, or at least the kind of work from home part finishing, and me having to go back to my job proper and realizing I really didn't want to do that. So I thought, well, I'll sell my business. That'll give me some money, which means that YouTube doesn't need to make money, really doesn't make much profit, and I'll just see how it goes. So that was it, summer of 22. I mean, within 6 months, I'd gone from, maybe I could do this full time to just, I'll do this full time. And now I'm, been doing that since the summer of 22. So we're now 2 years of nothing but YouTube. And it's still, importantly, for anyone thinking it's a lucrative business, it still doesn't really pay the bills. I mean, people think, you make some months thousands and thousands of pounds a month. I do, but it's me and it's my wife. So split that in half, and that's gross. Take off all of our expenses. By the time you net it down, we literally could go and work at the supermarket and stack shelves 9 to 5, which is nothing against people doing that. It's an admirable thing to be doing, and we would make more money. So we aren't making lots of. We are still reliant upon the fact that I sold my business that we can support what we're doing. But it's on a progression still, and the plan is that before I run out of cash, YouTube will be making enough.
So the channel name then, it's just Mark Lewis. It leaves a lot of wiggle room for like the future when it comes to content. And you've already mentioned that it's more of a lifestyle channel. What do you think your channel's going to look like in like 5 years' time?
I got no idea, because I got no idea what my life will look like in 5 years' time, which is why I called the channel Mark Lewis. I mean, it's funny because I see so many people starting out. I got involved in a sport for a while called High Rocks. It's a bit like CrossFit, and there'd be so many people whose channels were starting up around that, and they would all call themselves, High Rocks Harry and stuff. You think, crikey, talk about kind of not even capping yourself to fitness. You now just capped yourself to high rocks. That made no sense to me. And again, like Casey Neistat, his channel is Casey Neistat, and when you watch it, you're not watching it because you want videos about New York or you want videos about drones. You're watching it because you want videos made by Casey Neistat. So I thought that's what I want. I want people to think it's a Mark Lewis video, so I'll give that a go. So that's why I titled it that in the first place. And yeah, it does allow me some freedom. I mean, the new house move that we've got coming up is going to involve a kind of an off-grid lifestyle that will still also involve a lot of fitness and stuff. And I'm currently in two minds whether to sort of transition the channel in the direction of that and make it more of a sort of off-griddy kind of like, oh, here I am feeding my goats and now going for a run. Maybe that. More likely, my wife will have her channel, which is almost non-existent. I mean, it exists at the moment, but not in any real sense. That will be the lifestyle homestead off-grid type channel, and mine will just carry on being what I'm doing really, and it'll just be I'm now working out in a barn that I converted. And if you want to see how the barn got converted, go look at my wife's channel because that's the barn conversion over there, and hopefully the two channels will sort of play off each other. But to a certain extent, it doesn't need to be anything. It's just, what am I doing at the moment? Can I tell a story about it? And if the answer is yes, then good. Then I make that video.
So that leads quite nicely into this next question then, which is my favourite question to ask. So let's say your channel got deleted and you had to start from scratch. Can't do fitness, can't do motorbikes. Is there any kind of YouTube content you've really wanted to have a go at but haven't had the time to do it?
No, because if there was, I would just do it. I mean, I would literally just do it. I mean, the easier way to answer your question, is there content you'd like to do that you don't do, would be to answer it from today. I've got the ability today with the number of subscribers I have and the following I have to just make content about something else. So if I wanted to sort of try out new things, the place to try that out would be today. It'd be now. A little bit like I did with my last video. My last video was effectively a story about how I met my wife. That's really what it was, and I was able to do that. And it's been up a week and it's on nearly 500,000 views. So I can do that. Actually, if I went back to day one, the problem would be that I would be so concerned about having to establish a channel quite quickly that I'd probably be more restricted in what I did, and it would be cliched kind of stuff. If I'm not able to do fitness for whatever, gun to my head, it would be about it'd probably be about the lifestyle that I'm living, the off-grid type lifestyle. I know that can work. Here's me making my own plunge pool, and here's me bordering up my dam in my stream, and I know how to do that. I can visualize how to do that. But I wouldn't be thinking, oh, free to do what I like. I'd be thinking, crikey, how do I get back to, a certain number of views? I mean, interestingly, my wife's channel, which is literally about to start, is in that place. We are thinking she's going to get a kind of a leg up, a boost, because I'm going to be able to send people from my channel to hers. So there's that. But it's not guaranteed they'll go across. So we do need to get it to, in my mind, 100,000 subscribers from none, rapidly. And so that channel is going to be quite, not clickbaity, but for example, the very first video is going to be I moved house on my own and saved £6,000 or whatever we end up saving, and it's going to be her driving the truck, loading up the boxes. And everyone moves house. Everyone thinks, crikey, we spent a fortune on removals. How's this girl doing it how is that possible? And wow, they're moving to an incredible looking place. So that's the kind of the hook for the video. And it's something we want to talk about, but it's also going to be content that we know we can kind of pitch in a way that will grab people's attention. That's going to be her channel. It's going to be a sort of a fast track, and it'll be cliched and clickbaity, and it's going to be, I mean, it's unfortunate in a way that there is a way of making YouTube work for you that isn't necessarily the best. I mean, as an example, my video about my wife. My last video had a thumbnail of her on the beach in a kind of skimpy bikini, and I'm happy with the thumbnail. It's fine, and it's a beautiful picture, but it certainly leans into the, watch this, here's a hot girl kind of thing, and that works. And in an ideal world, that wouldn't work. In an ideal world, people would simply have another means of finding your content than just that one photograph and that one title. But that isn't the world of YouTube. YouTube you do need to grab them. And you can do your kind of, cartoony, stupid face out of Mr. Beast, or you can do here's something just visually very appealing, be it a human or a landscape or whatever. So we're going to lean into that a little bit.
So that just about rounds it off then. I was going to ask if you've got any goals for the next 12 months, but it sounds like you're going to be pretty busy.
Well, not fail at what we're doing. I mean, some people said, well, what if you move and it doesn't work and nobody watches that, and you hate living in the middle of nowhere, then that's a fail. And we come back and we do something else. I mean, life's too short to worry about things that might fail. However, the next 12 months are going to be spent trying not to fail. It's going to be how do we make what we're now doing an interesting story? It's an interesting story already. How do we put it across to YouTube as an interesting story?
I will squeeze in one more question then. So what's more difficult, building the YouTube channel or doing the ultra marathon?
Oh, a YouTube channel, an ultra marathon is easy. But it's easy for anybody within reason. You start at the start line and you just kind of keep going until you finish or you die. I mean, there's almost no challenge to it. I mean, people think, oh, wow, that's an incredible thing to do. In reality, it's not. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other until you get to the end. I mean, it's just, do it. It's just you can't fail in a sense unless you just pass out. And I didn't, so I got it done. YouTube isn't that. I mean, YouTube has a million ways in which you can screw up. So no, running ultra marathons is easy unless you die. There you go. Stick that on the trailer. Yeah. Yes, but then if and most people don't die. So it's why people can. I've done ultra marathons with people that are in their 60s and 70s and beyond. And again, one foot in front of the other. Takes them all day. Takes them 2 days sometimes. But it's just about perseverance. It's interesting actually because a lot of people do say about YouTube. I used to be on some kind of new YouTuber forums, and people say, "Oh, I've been going at this for a couple of years now, and I've only got still the same 3 subscribers." And people will say, "Oh, just persevere, just keep plodding away." And that was interesting to me because I think that isn't good advice necessarily, because it's not an ultra marathon where you just follow the route until the end. That isn't it. If you've been going a couple of years and you still suck, the idea that you just keep going, persevere, you'll get there in the end, it's just grind away, that makes no sense. You wouldn't say that to any other artist. You wouldn't say that to a musician. If they still can't play the guitar after 3 years, you wouldn't say keep at it and you'll be at Wembley soon. You say you're probably rubbish at guitar, do something else. So it's no, ultramarathon easy. Becoming, to sound very pretentious, to succeed as an artist, creating something artistic, which YouTube absolutely is, requires way more than just perseverance. Otherwise, everybody would do it. I mean, if it was just that, quit school at 14, keep plugging away, and eventually you'll be a millionaire YouTuber. That isn't how it works.
No, but thank you. That's the end of the questions. I really appreciate you making the time for this. I'm going to link your channel down in the description. Where else can people find you?
Just on the channel. Go to YouTube, Mark Lewis. I'm there.
No, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.